Section 3.8, slopes of parallel and perpendicular lines. I'm going to start with some vocabulary here. So as a review, let's look at the graph. Line B is perpendicular, so we'll use the perpendicular symbol, to line A. Line B is parallel to the x-axis. Line A is parallel to the y-axis. And the x-axis is perpendicular to the y-axis. Little review of our logic. Write the converse, inverse, and contrapositive of the statement below. If a polygon is a triangle, then the sum of the measures of its angles is 180. So the converse, switch them around. If the sum of the measures of the angle of a polygon is 180, then the polygon is a triangle. The inverse, if a polygon is not a triangle, then the sum of the angles, the measures of the angles, is not 180. And the contrapositive, if the sum of the measures of the angles of a polygon is not 180, then the polygon is not a triangle. All right, and let's review what a reciprocal is. So a reciprocal of x is 1 over x. So you flip the fraction. So if it's just a number, it's 1 over the number. Okay. So the word reciprocal is a noun. So this is a reciprocal. The reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. But number 8, as a verb, it's reciprocate. All right, let's move on. Slopes of parallel lines. If two non-vertical lines are parallel, then their slopes are equal. If the slopes of two distinct non-vertical lines are equal, then the lines are parallel. Any two vertical lines or horizontal lines are parallel. So number 10, circle the correct statement. A vertical line is parallel to any other vertical line, or a vertical line is parallel to any horizontal line. So it's the first one. Number 11, any two non-vertical lines have the same slope, or any two non-vertical lines that are parallel have the same slope. Okay, problem 1. We're going to check for parallel lines. So line 3 contains point A, -13.6, and B, -1.2. Line 4 contains C, 3.6, and D, 6.7. Are lines 3 and lines 4 parallel? And explain. So number 12, determine whether the lines 3 and 4 are parallel. Check whether the lines have the same slope. And we're going to find the slope of each line. So the slope of line 3 has the points A and B. And so we're going to put the y coordinates of A and B in the numerator and the x coordinates of A and B in the denominator. Notice we started with the y coordinate of B in the numerator, and so we're going to use the y coordinate of A also, and then the x coordinate of B first and the x coordinate of A second. So let's go ahead and simplify that. So 6 minus 2 is negative 4, and then 1 minus negative 13 is adding 13, so we get 12. So that simplifies to be negative 1/3. And now we need to calculate the slope of line 4. So we're going to play the same game. The y coordinate of D is 7 minus the y coordinate of C is 6. And the x coordinate of D is 6. X coordinate of C is 3. So that simplifies to 1/3. So are the slopes equal? No, they're not. Are the lines parallel? No. Slopes not equal. That's one correct answer. All right, problem 2, writing the equations of parallel lines. So what is the equation of the line parallel to the line y equals negative x minus 7 that contains the point negative 5, 3? So the slope of the line negative x minus 7 is negative 1. The equation of the line parallel to y equals negative x minus 7 will have that same slope of negative 1. So we're going to use the point slope form. So we're going to start with the formula y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. Now we're going to substitute. So we've got the y coordinate of our point is 3, so y minus 3, and then our slope is negative 1. The x coordinate is negative 5. And then simplifying that, we're going to make these positive, but then we distribute our negative 1, so that's negative x minus 5. And lastly, we're going to add 3 to both sides, and so we get negative x minus 2 for the equation of our line. So, slopes of perpendicular lines. If two non-vertical lines are perpendicular, then the product of their slopes is negative 1. If the slopes of two lines have a product of negative 1, then the lines are perpendicular. And any horizontal line and vertical line are perpendicular to each other. So true or false? The second bullet in the take note is the contrapositive of the first bullet. No, that's a false statement. The product of the slopes of any horizontal line and any vertical line is negative 1. Yes, that's true. Problem 3, checking for perpendicular lines. So line 3 is between points A and B, which are 2, 7 and 3, negative 1, and line 4 is C and D, which is negative 2, 6 and 8, 7. Are they perpendicular? Well, we need to find the slopes of both of them. So the slope of line 3, we're going to subtract the y coordinates in the numerator, so negative 1 minus 7 over the x coordinates, which are 3 and 2. So we get negative 8 over 1, or just negative 8. Line 4, the slope of that line is 7 minus 6 over 8 minus negative 2. So that is 1 over 10. If we multiply the two slopes, we get negative 8 times 1/10. That is negative 8/10. Reduce that to negative 4/5. So are they perpendicular? No, they're not perpendicular because the product of their slopes does not equal -1. And problem 4, write the equations of perpendicular lines. So what is an equation of a line perpendicular to y equals -3x minus 5 that contains the point -3, 7? So here's a chart for us to fill in. So first of all, we need to identify the slope of the line. So the slope of our line is there, -3. So the perpendicular slope is the opposite reciprocal. So the slope of our second line is positive 1/3 because -3 times positive 1/3 gives you -1. So now we're going to write the equation of the perpendicular line through that point. So the y coordinate is 7. So y minus 7 equals 1/3 for our perpendicular slope, x minus -3. So simplify that a little bit. Y minus 7 equals 1/3, x plus 3. So error analysis here. Your classmate tries to find the equation of a line parallel to y equals 3x minus 5 that contains the point -4, 2. What error did they make over there? So parallel lines have the same slopes. So the correct solution would be to use the slope of the line, which is 3, with the new point. So we would use the y coordinate of 2 and the slope of 3, since we want it to be parallel, and the x coordinate of 4, -4. And so together that makes x plus 4.